Hi, my name is Sylvie from Steamboat Creates at the Depot Art Center, and welcome to another Young at Art at Home project. Today we are going to make tie-dyed coffee filters. So here are a couple examples of some tie-dyed coffee filters I have already made. And they're a super fun project because once these dry completely, they're kind of like a tissue paper. You can crumple them up and make flowers out of them. You can cut them into strips and add them to a collage or wrap them around a jar to make it a little prettier, to decorate it. They are very versatile. You can use them for a lot of things. What you'll need are coffee filters. The white ones will give more of that bright effect, but if you have any kind of coffee filter, you can experiment with it, even if it's a brown one, with putting colors on and seeing how they bleed together. You'll also want some washable markers. So the permanent markers won't work as well for the bleeding effect, but washable markers will work well. And of course, water, because that's what we are going to allow the colors to bleed with. I also have some newspaper so that I can lay that down for making the coffee filters, and I recommend having some paper towels on hand because sometimes the water can run. I also have some baking sheets here. I have two lined with parchment paper. This one I'm going to use for wetting the coffee filter, and this one I'm using to let them dry. You could also allow these to dry right on the newspaper if you wanted to lay out some newspaper to let them dry, or you could put some parchment paper down on the newspaper and that'll help it not stick at all. So what you'll want to do first is grab a coffee filter, and you're going to want to grab a set of colors that you want to use that are going to all bleed together nicely. Okay, so these colors are looking inviting to me. I'll add in a red as well because I want to see how these will mix together. Keep in mind, you don't see on the finished product here any of the designs that I colored onto it. So everything is going to mix together, giving it that tie-dye effect. If I did colors like purple and yellow and green and red, I would end up with a lot of the brown color scheme where these all got mixed together. So you can experiment and do a lot of these all at once. And what you'll want to start with is coloring in your coffee filter. So I'm going to start with coloring in the middle and then working my way out. One thing you'll notice is I am making designs on here. I'm not taking time to color in a dolphin or a sun and a cloud because remember, these designs are all gonna get up mixed together. I'm gonna keep coloring all the way to the edge so that my entire coffee filter gets color when we add the water for it to bleed. Okay, so I am putting away my markers, and I just made one as an example so that you can see how this turns out. However, you could make a dozen, so long as there's enough coffee filters for the coffee drinkers. You can make as many of these as you like. And I recommend making a few, 3 or 4, so that you can create whatever you want to create when you're finished with them. So next, I'm gonna set my finished coffee filter onto my baking dish that has the parchment paper on it. And I'm setting it down facing up, just like this. And I forgot to mention, I also have a Dixie cup that's gonna make pouring this water in easier, because you only need a little bit, a very little bit of water will go a really long way with this project. And then I'm gonna pour it onto my coffee filter. And now that I've got it on there, I can move this baking dish around, and you're already starting to see these colors start to bleed. So they're starting to bleed together, which means they're mixing together. And I'm moving this around so that the entire sheet, the entire coffee filter gets wet. So I'm gonna hold it up now, which is the wet version, and it's gonna continue to bleed and mix together as it dries. So then I'll make some room on my dry baking sheet with the parchment paper and take this and move it over so that it has room to dry and it's not sitting in the water itself. So it'll just rest here until it's dry. And that's it. Once you have these coffee filters, again, you can make really cool flowers with them. You could make a whole bouquet if you squish them up together. You can also decorate things with them. As I mentioned, you could decorate a jar with them, like this, some kind of cup. You can use them to decorate your room. You can cut them and hang them, and they can make really beautiful shapes with really delicate color on them. I hope you enjoyed this coffee filter tie-dyeing experiment. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you visit us at steamboatcreates.org/classes to see more of the projects that we'll be doing for this at-home series. Take care.